the first assignment for that we're going to be implementing an actual product. It should be available by clicking on this hyperlink on the right-hand side, and it should open up in a Google Doc. Right, I see that several of you have found it. If you haven't found it, let me know. I'll point you to it. So this is the second assignment in this semester, and we're going to be using the assignment 2 tag. And if you don't know how to work with tags, please see me after class. It's very important that you tag the assignments. Right, that will be the official submission. Right, the due date is this Wednesday or Tuesday or Monday or wherever it's due. Right, the date, the timestamp that we will use to make sure that something is late or not, or whether it's on time, it will be the date, timestamp of the tag, right, of the release on GitHub. Okay, right. So the tag for this assignment will be assignment 2. Yes.
I don't know if this matters, but I think one of the TAs said for assignment 1 it's assignment -1.
Oh, no, it should be assignment 1. Okay. Well, I mean, it's fine as long as it's obvious that it's assignment 1. You can, if you've submitted earlier and you have time and you realize that there's some error that you want to fix before the due date, the timestamp, you can resubmit and create another release, and you can create assignment 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, all right? And we will grade the very last one, right? The very last one. And you're welcome to keep working on the next assignment. Don't wait. And don't worry that you're going to overwrite any of the work from the previous assignment. Okay, that's okay, because since you create a release, the TAs are going to be able to clone, right, or check out your particular release, right, and be able to grade you on that particular release. So you can just keep working on the next assignment without any worries that you're going to overwrite it somehow. Okay, you are supposed to overwrite it and keep working on the next assignment. They all build on each other. Okay. All right. So assignment 2. So in assignment 2, you're going to be creating an application that allows you to create applications. Right. It's kind of like an IDE, but for phones. Right. So you're on a phone and you want to create a new website. You should be able to create a new website, add pages to that website. Drag and drop widgets on that website. Somewhere like Wix or Squarespace or these. There's tons of these websites out there that allow you to drag and drop content on the page, right, and build websites. Yes, right. But this is going to be done on a phone or a tablet or a small screen. Make sense, right? This is a data model of the various domain objects that we will be considering. There will be a user and a developer. So a user is an end user, as in folks that consume the websites that you create. Right? Imagine you're dragging widgets on this using this tool. When you publish this website, some end user will be looking at your website. Yes. So those are the normal users. Okay. Then you have the developer themselves, the ones that actually are building the website, right? Dragging different widgets onto the website. So these users can interact with many websites, right? So a developer can create many websites. A user can visit many websites, and they themselves contain several attributes, right? Websites contain names, the URL, the domain where they live, perhaps some statistics on how many visits folks have visited that particular website. All sorts of attributes that would live here on the website class. Yes? Right? Then, if we continue, we know that a website is made up of several pages, right? One website might have hundreds of pages. And pages themselves might have their own attributes. The name of the page, right? The actual source file for that page, perhaps a description for that page, any CSS that is associated to that page, and styling, any statistics for that page, how many visits we've had for that page, who the author is for that page, when it was created, all sorts of statistics for that one page. Yes? Right, so we have one person can be associated to many websites. One website can be associated with many pages, and that's what the diamond captures here, right? That there's a one-to-many relationship between these two. Okay? Right? Continuing, we have that a page might be made up of several widgets, right? So one page might contain many widgets, right? They might have a paragraph widget, a form element widget, right? It might have a date picker. It might have an image gallery. It might have a video embedded in there. All these would be different widgets, right, that you can drag and drop to build your page. Make sense? Right? So widgets can have their own attributes: how wide it is, the height, the background color, the minimum and maximum values for width. You can have all sorts of attributes for that, right? The actual HTML content, right? Those are different attributes for each one of the widgets. Make sense? Right? So we're building one of these websites like Wix or what's another one? That's now I see it on the advertising. Weebly is one of them, right? Weebly.com. So we're going to be building a mini Weebly. A mini Weebly. But for the phone, right? So you can drag up things up and down using Weebly. All right. So widgets can be of different types. It could be headers, labels, paragraphs, text, options, buttons, and there's a slew of widgets that you could add to this. Yes, right. So this captures the fact that there's an abstract or a class, and then you have concrete classes that inherit certain aspects that are common to all of them. Right. This down here, we're not going to focus on this events. This would allow us to capture behaviors and things like that, like scripts. We're not going to do that. We're not going to focus on that for this assignment. So here are the some wireframes and file names that I'm suggesting. And here we have and I've grouped them by the different domain objects that we are manipulating, right? So in our domain, our domain is the domain of website builders tools, right? Tools for building websites. And in that domain, the types of objects that we manipulate are websites, pages, widgets. Yes, those are the types of objects that we manipulate. And I've grouped the pages around my domain objects, right? For your project, you will identify your own domain objects, right? If you're doing a website for sharing recipes, right? Or sharing books, or sharing movies, or whatever particular domain you choose, you will have your own domain objects, right? So if it's a movie website, monodomain object will probably be movie, right? That will be one of the domain objects, right? Or if it's recipes, you might have recipes, right? That would be a domain object, and a recipe is made up of several ingredients, right? So ingredient would be a valid domain object in your domain. Yes? Okay? That makes sense? I often get this question: what is a domain object? It's a collection of attributes that describes some object in your domain, right? Whatever domain you choose, right? You choose a domain, and then that domain has different objects. For our domain, we have websites, widgets, pages. Those are all legitimate things we need to capture. Yes? So I've grouped them in this way. So for the user domain object, we need to capture username, passwords, right? Emails, first name, last names. We need to capture all those things, yes? And typically, for any domain object, we need to be able to do at least 4 things. We need to be able to create the domain objects. Right? We need to be able to remove them. We need to be able to retrieve them from some collection of domains, right, of objects. And we need to be able to update them, right? So the four operations, right, the four what we call the CRUD operations: create, read, update, and delete. Yes? So here's a user. And so how might a user be able to create themselves? Well, they can register themselves, right? So the register page is for us to be able to create new users, yes? A login typically is for us to be able to authenticate them, right? We're going to be able to retrieve a particular user, right? We're going to be able to buy username and password or whatever, right? And they should be able to update their information, so we're going to capture that in the profile page, yes? And presumably they might be able to unregister themselves, right? If they want to leave the community, they should be able to unregister themselves from the profile page, yes? So typically any pages that you identify are ways that you are allowing your end users to implement those four actions: create, read, update, and delete. Right? That's all there is. Right? Well, not actually, right? You also might have things that are related to one another. Not only do we want to create an individual element, right, or piece of information, but also might be relationships between elements as well, right? And we'll work on that a little bit later. All right, so for the other domain objects, such as websites, we have the capability of listing all the websites, being able to create new websites, edit an existing website, and so amongst these three pages, we should be able to implement those four CRUD operations. Right? We should be able to read all of them, be able to create new ones, edit or remove an existing one, and same thing for all of these. Right? For pages, also we like to be able to list all the pages, create new ones, edit existing ones, or maybe remove an existing one. Widgets as well. Right? So they all fall into this category. Here we have wireframes of what these pages might look like. Okay, we have the login page where you can log in, provided with username and password. Right now, we're only going to focus on logging in using plain old username and password. Later on, we're going to add the capability of logging in using Google or Facebook or any third-party authentication authority. But for now, we'll just leave it at username and password. Notice the white spaces here. Notice that we have equal white spaces on either side. Notice the white spacing in between the buttons and the input fields. Right? They're the same white spaces. The human eye looks for these things, right? Regularities on the spacing between the things, right? And if there's regularity, the human eye is happy. If there's irregularity, if the eye has to make more effort into parsing an image, right, it starts to be jarring. Unless that's what you want. Maybe if it's artistic, maybe that is what you want to do. Create something that is jarring. Oops. Is it still recording? Yes. So here's the register page. Here we have a username, password, and verified password where you can register or cancel. And this is misspelled, I just realized. Really? Wow.
You were testing out.
If you log in and if it's successful, you navigate to the profile page. Or you can register. You can click on register and you navigate to the register page. Here you can cancel and navigate back to the login page, or register and you navigate to your profile page. Make sense? There is no actual registration or actual login for this assignment. We're going to do that next week. For that, for this to be real, we need logic. We need JavaScript. Okay, we're not going to cover JavaScript this week. Right? For now, this is going to be hard-coded. When you click on login, whatever you type in login, it'll navigate to the profile page. There's no validation for this assignment. Okay, This is typical when you're beginning a project and you have a new client. You create a prototype of the application with a very thin client, right? And it's typically used to elicit some feedback from the user and says, hey, how about this, right? What do you think of the layout? What do you think of the navigation? Okay, and it's that phase of the project where you want some feedback from the user, and it's still early enough that you can change things around, right? You can change the navigation, you can change the layout, because you haven't put too much effort into building the logic behind it. Yes? So this is the first phase of any project where you create a thin client, thin prototype, almost a throwaway piece of code where that you can elicit requirements. Once you're in the profile page, we have labels and input fields for username, email, first name, last name, and whatnot. If you can log out. If you log out, you navigate back to the login page, or you can navigate to the website by clicking on websites. Notice at the bottom we have a footer. So at the top we have a header and a footer. Those are stuck to the top, right? The header is stuck to the top and the footer is stuck to the bottom. So even if you scroll up and down, they stay put, which is a very common navigation scheme that is used on phones, on small screens. On the website page, there are portrait and landscape views. On the portrait view, notice that they're both implemented on the same page, right? The same HTML document. The website, here on the portrait, we have a list of websites that the current user has created so far. On the left-hand side, on the right-hand side, we have cogs or icons that give us a hint that we can manipulate that object, right? That if you click on there, you can edit it somehow or change something about it, change its settings. We have also a plus sign at the top that gives us a hint that we can create more of these, right? Or we have kind of like a cancel that allows us to navigate back to where we were, right? Notice at the bottom we have the same footer as before that allows us to navigate back to the profile page. From wherever you are, you can click on the profile page and navigate to the profile link. Some students have suggested that preferably, instead of navigating to the profile page, that it would be better to navigate back to the home page. Okay, but we don't have a home page. We don't have a home page. So students have suggested, and I agree, that there should be a home page to this. And so I added here a home page. So this is home.html. Okay. Actually, for now, there's not going to be a difference between the index page and the home page. Later on, there will be, but right now they're one and the same. Right now, they're one and the same. Right, the index page will be the home page, and I'll show you. We'll do it today. I think we have enough time. Another thing that is there's a mistake here is that notice that these cogs are not right under the plus sign. Okay, like they are in the landscape. They should both be aligned nice, one on top of the other. Okay. Yes.
Because they are pieces of each size, would you recommend doing like 2 columns or actually just like some padding or something like that?
Where? I'm sorry.
Like for example, we're making that layout like that.
Yep. Like this one.
Yeah, because the cogs and the icons are always going to be the same size.
Yep.
Would you recommend making like 2 columns or wouldn't that make? Wouldn't make sense?
You could make 2 columns, but the way we're going to achieve that they're both on top of each other is by just pulling them to the right so they float all the way to the right, right, and then they would fall on top of each other. Whether you want to use two columns, sure, but on that second column, right, the cog should pull to the right, right, so they're all justified to the right-hand side.
Yeah, my question is like using columns wouldn't be a good idea.
You can if you want. We will. Well, in this case, you have to use columns. Let me get to it in a minute. Let me get to it in a second. So notice that there's a portrait version and there's a landscape version. Okay. In the landscape version, here they're being shown that they show the same exact content, but actually, on the landscape version, we're going to add an additional column. Right. That column, because we have more space, right, in landscape, it's appropriate to show more content. Okay. But on portrait, it is appropriate to hide that content, right? So you only show more or less depending as you make the screen bigger and bigger, right? And we'll show you how to do that today or maybe Wednesday. Let's see. So it's not shown here, but we will do that here in class, right? And you will reuse the technique that we show here in class, right, to go and implement that on your own. And to achieve that, we will be using columns. Yeah. Let's see, what else? Okay, so that's the landscape and portrait for the websites. If you click on cog, you navigate to the edit page for that particular website. If you click on plus, you navigate to the new website page. Make sense? Right, so here we have new. If you click on plus here or here, right, you navigate to the website new. Right, either portrait or landscape, depending on how you have how it's tilted. On portrait mode, it just displays a form where you can create a new website, providing a new name for the website and a description for that website. Yes, right. If you instead hold it on landscape mode, this form shows up on the right-hand side, but on the left-hand side, you have the same listing as before. The same listing as before. They're all listed on the left-hand side. If you flip it portrait, it only displays the form. Make sense? Okay. If instead of clicking on the plus sign, you click on the cog, right, it navigates to the edit page, edit website, right? Website edit, right? Which show pre-filled form, right? Showing information about that particular website. Okay. Now, obviously, we don't have that. We can't dynamically generate this, right? This is going to all have to be hard coded, right? Right now, if you click on cog on any one of these, right, since we don't have any dynamic content to display, it is appropriate to always show the same exact content. Make sense? Right? Next week, when we introduce Angular and whatnot, right, and we can do dynamic content, we will replace this and make it dynamic. But for this week, it's going to be all static. Make sense? Right? The focus of this week is to focus on laying it out, making it responsive, showing and hiding different content when you flip, right? So that's this week. Next week we will expand it and make it dynamic. So on the edit page, same thing. It has a portrait and a landscape. If you flip it, you get the form goes on the right-hand side, and you get the list of all the websites on the left-hand side, right? So if you click on the cog, right, as you click on different cogs, the right-hand side would change, right, dynamically, showing the information about that particular website. Make sense? Well, obviously not this week, right? Next week we will make it dynamic, right? This week, regardless on which one you click, you will always have the same content on the right-hand side. Make sense? Everybody okay? All right. All right. If you click, so we know what happens if you click on the plus, on the cog. If you click on the on the website itself, the name of the website, right, you navigate to the children of the website, which are the pages. Right? So the pages, you navigate to the list of all the pages for that particular website. Right? But this week, it's always going to be the same list of the same websites, right? Because this can't be dynamic, right? We don't have code, right? We don't have JavaScript. And notice that it says portrait, right? Same thing. There's going to be a portrait version and a landscape version. Even though it's not being shown here, this will have a portrait and a landscape version. Yes? Okay. Same thing. If it's in portrait, it'll only show the list of pages and the cog. But when you flip it, it'll show an additional column. All right? Or two. If you click on plus, it takes you to page new. Again, with a portrait and landscape version. Right? When you say OK, it navigates back to the page list. If you click on the cog, it navigates to the edit page. Right? And showing the pre-filled values of the input field. If you say OK, it goes back to the page list. So any interaction that you do on these two pages, it always goes back to the page list. Same thing for the websites, right? You know, whatever you do here, clicking on delete, clicking on OK, clicking on back, it always navigates back to the list, to the website list. Yes? Same thing on the new. If you click on OK or back, right, it navigates to the list. Yes? All right. So pages, everybody okay with pages? Right? And finally, widgets. If you click on a particular page name, you navigate to the content of that page. That basically shows the list of all the widgets on that page. Right? And a page might contain a header, a page might contain a video, a page might contain an image, might contain a paragraph. Excuse me. Am I screaming? Losing my voice. And so once you click a page, you navigate to a widget list. And here it is. You have several widgets. Some of them are headers. Some of them are images. Some of them are raw HTML. And some of them are videos. Okay. And they all have, next to them, to the top right, they all have this kind of like heads-up toolbar hovering on top of them. Okay, that presumably should allow you to drag them around on the page. It should allow you to grab it and just move it and position it elsewhere on the page. Yes? Okay? Or if you click on the cog, it should allow you to edit that widget. Right? Like, for instance, change the title, or change the image, or change the YouTube video, or change the raw HTML, whatever. Yes? This doesn't have a portrait and a landscape. Right? This could be the same for both. If you click on plus, it takes you to a widget chooser, where you choose the widget you want. Okay? You choose a widget, whether it's a header widget or a label or an HTML or text input, whatever. Depending on which one you click on, it takes you to the appropriate editor. If you click on the header, it takes you to the widget header editor, right, where you can type in the heading, you can type in the size of the heading. This is a drop-down, by the way. This is not a text field. It's a drop-down. It's not shown as a drop-down, but it's a drop-down. When you say OK, it goes back to the widget list. If you click on image, it navigates to the widget image HTML editor, right, where you can type in the URL of the image. You can type in the width of the image, or it allows you to upload an image. Yes? Okay? This week we're not going to do uploads. We're not going to do, all this is going to be static. Okay? All static. So none of this has to actually work. Right? You should just be able to navigate from one page to the next correctly. Right? And everything should be laid out. We will add all these features as we go. Right? In the next couple assignments. So if you click on, instead of YouTube, if you click on YouTube, it'll navigate to the YouTube widget editor. Yes? And when you say OK, it goes back to the list of all the widgets. Make sense? Right? All the other widgets we're not going to work on this week. Right? We're going to be adding these widgets as we go throughout the semester. Okay? This week we're just going to play around with header, image, and YouTube. Okay? And only the static version of this. Right? We'll make them dynamic next week. The other widgets, the text input, the HTML, and we're going to add them later on. Okay, for now, they don't have to do anything, right? Only these three, header, YouTube, and image, actually have to navigate. Right? The other ones don't have to navigate anywhere. Okay. What else? Here is a diagram that captures the navigation we just discussed, right? But in a diagram format. The only difference here is that I'm adding a home page. An additional home page here, right, which we'll work on today. Right? And from that home page, we should be able to navigate to the login page, the register page, and whatnot, and we'll do that today. But everything else, I believe it's accurate. Here, I captured the same exact information, but in a table format. Styling. So again, a lot of this week's focus is on styling, right? On laying it out correctly and making it look pretty. So you do need to use one of these libraries, either Bootstrap or Angular Materials or Foundation. Okay, those are the three approved libraries, CSS libraries that you can choose. If you have another one that you're thinking of using, please run it by me first, and then we can add it as an option here. Right? I'm going to cover Bootstrap in this class. Okay. And so some of this information here is specific to Bootstrap, but you would be free to use the equivalent in that other library, whatever that other library uses. Make sure that all text input fields are of type text. All password fields are type password. Okay, meaning strongly type your input fields. Right, if they're dates, there should be dates. Emails. Text area should be at least 3 rows high, and they should not have default white spaces embedded in them. We'll see what that means in a minute. Use the file input fields for upload. Some of the input field will have some of the input fields will have default text in them, like these. These have default text in them. See that? If it shows that there's default text, you should have default text in them. It doesn't have to be this exact default text. It could be lorem ipsum or whatever you want to choose. You can choose whatever default text you want to use. The listing of these websites don't have to be exactly what I chose here. You could choose your own list of websites or list of pages, right? But you should have something, right? Something displayed there. Also, the styling, the colors I chose is not, you can choose your own styling, right? You can choose your own colors, your own fonts. Okay, you're free to, come up with something a little more creative. Some students have asked me if they can choose text instead of icons here. I guess I'm okay with you using text instead of icons. I'm going to regret that. What else? Let's see. Input fields, Bootstrap. All elements should be friendly to a phone, right? So they should take up the entire width of the screen, right? The label should be clickable. You should have placeholders everywhere to give a hint on what what you're expecting for that input field. If you want to choose your own placeholders that make more sense than the ones I chose, feel free to use your own placeholders. Okay. Buttons and links should look like buttons. Even if you use them as links, they should look like buttons, and they should use some color scheme that captures their intent. So if it's something like logout or delete, that you want to have the user pay attention, be careful. Maybe paint it red as something that is danger. Be careful with this, or use a different coloring scheme that elicits some meaning, some context. Okay, I'm going to be showing how to use that in Bootstrap, but certainly you can use your own. Use tables only for tabular data. Do not use them for layout. If you're using glyphicons, you can use Bootstrap's own glyphicons. They're free. Or some students have suggested using Font Awesome instead. You feel free to use Font Awesome instead. That's fine. Make good use of white spaces. You should disable pinch to zoom. Since we are making the website responsive, there is no need to make there's no need to have pinch to zoom. So we're going to disable that, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. Horizontal scroll bars. There shouldn't be any horizontal scroll bars unless there's a good reason for it. So you should never have to scroll from left to right. Up and down, that's fine. Left to right, you shouldn't have to, right? Unless there's a good reason for it. Maybe you have a table, a responsive table that doesn't fit, right? So you should be able to scroll from left to right, large tables. Okay, but be careful. You should not have allow to scroll the entire website. If something doesn't fit, right, it should be enclosed in a responsive element, right, so that you're not forcing scrolling the entire page. And I'll show you how to do that. Headers and footers should be statically positioned above and below so that they don't scroll with the rest of the content. We'll do that. If you're using CSS or JavaScript libraries, they should be, let's see, as you are developing, it is okay to have your CSS and JavaScript libraries hosted in your local server. Okay, but at the end of the semester, I'm going to ask you that they all should be in CDNs. Right? They should be referencing a third-party library outside your server. Okay, but that we'll cover that towards the end. Right? For now, it is okay to host them locally, and I'll show you how to do that. What else? Pages must attributes. Right. So all styling should be done in a separate CSS file. All JavaScript files should be hosted. All JavaScript code should be hosted in a separate JavaScript file. The deliverable, you're going to commit and you're going to push, and then you're going to release. You're going to tag it, right? Using within. You can do it either from within GitHub or from within your Git client, and the tag should be assignment 2. If you don't know how to release or tag, see the TAs or see myself, and I can show you how to release. Okay, I always get two or three students that halfway through the semester they haven't released or tagged anything. Okay, and they're asking why don't they have grades? Okay, we can't give you a grade unless you release, right? Okay, so if you are asking why don't I have a grade yet, the first thing we'll ask you, have you released your code? Right, you have to release for us to be able to give you a grade. I think that's it. All right, let's start implementing this.